we want the customer, the seller, to keep the title. That's their protection. That, if we have the title and the car and we sell the car and we flit off to Jamaica, then they're in a rock and a hard place. So we want you to keep the title. Not that we're not trustworthy or that we're going to do anything untoward, but it's just to give you a peace of mind that, hey, I've got the title, they've got the car. They can't sell the car without the title.
But you have a copy of the title because you've seen it.
We've seen it. We've verified that there's no problems with it. And, of course, every state is different. And it's one of those things that we, dare I say it, wish the government would get more involved with.
Oh, no.
Don't. And that's because there are so many anomalies to each area. So, like in North Carolina, a title, they have a thing called a reassignment form, and it's a form that's separate piece of paper from the title that you can assign it to the new owner. And if it's a dealer, it can keep being reassigned hundreds of times if it needs to be. Pennsylvania doesn't have reassignment forms. So if you fill a title, then you can't go any further reassigning it to people. And that's a little more technical than people need to really know. But just understand that each state's different. In New Jersey, if it's a hot rod or a kit car, they don't put a year in the year on the title, which, send that to California and don't expect getting a phone call on that. They're like, we can't, there's no year here. Well, that's New Jersey's rule. And so, and Pennsylvania does that as well too, I think. And so,
and how does that get resolved?
I don't know. We have a form that we send from the state of Pennsylvania that says Pennsylvania does not put a year on this. And I would imagine that a state like California or Texas or Florida probably does put in a state put in a year based on either the year that the thing was manufactured or the year that it's mimicking. Or, you see 32 Ford hot rods that are fiberglass bodied that are brand new that are titled as a 1932.
Right.
How'd that happen? I don't know. So I would imagine probably this is the case. But it's interesting because there's so many different variables with titles out there, and you have to be so careful because you can sign in the wrong spot, then that's a whole problem.
That's right.
And
or forget your initial or put an initial like it's a...
Yeah, it has to be signed exactly like it's a legal document. It's the second most important legal document, second most largest purchase document that you would do behind a house.
Yep.
And so you need to be exact on that. And the girls here at our office can tell you exactly what it is you do and don't do when it comes to this. So so once we sell your car, we have clear funds, we call you, you bring us the title, we give you a check. Remember, didn't I say that at the beginning?
And then they buy another car.
Or they could overnight the title to you, for example, and you would overnight the check.
Yeah, and they would do a power of attorney, and we would sign it on their behalf because you don't want it out there floating around with just an open title signed by the seller, because anybody could fill their name in on that. So that's one of the things you have to be very, very careful.
So another protection you remind them to have.
And here's the other thing that happens with titles. So a guy brings us a title, and before we had this other program that we use, we would take the title. It's a negotiable, it's a title. It's a real title. And we take a copy of it, and he takes it home, and then he brings it back when we sell it, and we fill it out to the new owner, and we send it to the new owner, and guess what? It's not the most recent title.
Wow.
There's been either they lost this one and then they got a duplicate and they forgot then they lost the duplicate and found the original, or they forgot that they got a new title, or they changed from Betty Sue to Bob or whatever.
Hey, it's 2025.
That's right.
Exactly. I didn't really mean it that way. I meant like husband and wife, or the husband passes away and they get a new title and they forgot that they got a new title. And so we have a program called VIN data, and that'll actually run that title and say, oh, no, this title on the front of it says it was issued on October 1st, 1980. The newest title in the database says October 1st, 2020. So we don't have the original title. So that's another one of those pitfalls that you have to be so careful of when you sell your car. And that's why we jokingly say, go put it out on Facebook Marketplace and sell it, and go through all the pitfalls and different things that happen, and you'll just be left scratching your head wondering why didn't I just pay Stewart and those guys to do this?
Right. Plus, you have to deal with potential buyers, and they come to your house. Headache. That's a headache on its own. Or you meet them somewhere.
If you've ever had a yard sale, you know how that's like. And now multiply that times how many thousands of dollars.
Guy calls you, it's Saturday night, you're out with the wife for dinner, and it's 7 o'clock, and the guy called and said, I want to come see the car right now. And you don't want to miss the sale, and you go there, and then what's the guy do? He comes there just to pick it apart and lowball offer you.
Sure.
So
we take that element out of it.
And,
I told you
the
so.
risk of having strangers come to your home.
Yeah, and as Steve said, if you are going to sell your car on your own, meet them somewhere else.
Yeah.
Meet them in a well-lit, police parking lot, public spot, whether it's a police department parking lot or somewhere, and there's cameras and all that. Just protect yourself.
The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stuart Howden.